Look how beautiful this iPad is. I love this color so much. This honestly looks so much better than I had seen it in any of the pictures. It's more of an apricot rose gold color. It is so beautiful. The iPad feels extremely nice in my hands. It's as thin as we would expect it to be, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And I absolutely love the artwork on the box as well. And also that rose gold writing here, and then also the Apple logo is rose gold as well. At the back of the box, it says 256 gigabytes, iPad Air 4th generation, Wi-Fi and cellular. And then I also got a cover for the iPad. This is that citrus pink folio cover, and this is what it looks like. It's got this really nice suede inner. This is really nice and soft. So now let's pop the iPad in here and let's see what it looks like. So you can just pop it on, and then the cover folds nicely over the iPad, and the camera is still visible like this. So this protects the iPad really nicely. I've had these types of covers on all my iPads and I really like them. So these are well worth the investment. I actually think this looks more like coral, not necessarily pink, but I think it's really nice. It's really nice and vibrant, and it goes well with the rose gold color of the iPad. And then the next thing I want to show you is the Apple Pencil. So the new iPad Air works with the Apple Pencil 2. It doesn't work with the 1st generation Apple Pencil, so make sure that you get that 2nd version of the Apple Pencil if you get one of these iPads. And of course, the nice thing about this Apple Pencil is that you can charge the Apple Pencil directly on the iPad. So you can pop it on here and then it will charge nicely. I got another little accessory for this. It's this silicone cover. I've got a similar one for my other Apple Pencil. So I got this purple one here as well. I'm not sure if it's the best color match for the cover, but let me pop this on and let me show what it looks like. So it just slides on like this, and then it's got this little end piece here as well. It's really nice to hold, and what's nice about this cover is that it will let you charge the Apple Pencil, and it still sticks on the iPad like this. So this is very nice. When Apple announced this new iPad Air, I actually felt a little bit sorry for all my friends who got a brand new 11-inch iPad Pro early this year, because it almost looks the same. The only difference really from the outside is that this iPad only has one camera and the new iPad Pros have 3 cameras, but I don't really use my iPad camera this much, so I would have actually been very happy with a cheaper iPad that doesn't have the 3 cameras. But there is more differences to this iPad Air versus the iPad Pro, and this is what we're going to look at in this video. Let's start with the cameras, and I think we can all agree that the cameras really don't make too much of a difference. Since I've had the iPad Pro with the 3 cameras, I've used the camera exactly once, and that was kind of an emergency because I didn't have the phone handy to take a photo, which I could do with this iPad as well. It still has the camera, and I'm really not using the iPad as a photography device. This iPad doesn't have Face ID, but it has this new Touch ID button here. If you've been using an iPad that has Face ID, then using Touch ID again will probably feel a little bit strange to you. So personally myself, I really do like Face ID. I don't even think about unlocking the iPad anymore. It just happens automatically. And then going back to Touch ID, I have to think about, oh, actually I need to put my finger on that button here to unlock the iPad. But I don't think this is an issue if you never had an iPad with Face ID before. If you had one of the older iPads with the Touch ID where you put the finger on the bezel, then this will feel quite natural to you. Next up, let's look at the difference in processors. The new iPad Air has the A14 Bionic chip and the iPad Pro has the A12Z Bionic chip. So now a lot of people think, well, the A14 is probably better than the A12 because, you know, 14 is better than 12. But is it going to make a difference in real life use? So far, I haven't noticed any difference from the applications that I use every day. I've been using Procreate, Affinity Designer, Adobe Illustrator, and Zinnia. These are my 4 go-to apps that I use every day, and I haven't noticed any difference in the performance between the 2 iPads. One of the things that will be different is the RAM. The iPad Air has 4 GB of RAM versus the iPad Pro that has 6 GB of RAM, and this can make a difference if you're using Procreate because 6 GB of RAM means you will have more layers available for your artwork. But again, unless you're working with really large files, I don't think it will make that much of a difference. But let's have a look to compare how many layers you'll have available in Procreate on the iPad Air versus the iPad Pro. In order to compare apples with apples, I'm going to select the A4 canvas size, and then let's see how many layers we have available there. We are going to go to layers, and you'll see here the maximum amount of layers is 57. So now I'm going to grab my 4th generation iPad Pro, which has 6 GB of RAM, to see what the difference is. And you'll see now these are the exact same files. So if you tap on layers, on the iPad Pro we have 73 layers, and then on the iPad Air we have 57 layers. And now because I have it, I actually want to compare this to the 3rd generation iPad Pro as well. So now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to start up Procreate, and I want to see how many layers I have available for the A4 size canvas. So now here again we have the same type of canvas, and if we have a look at the layers, this is the 3rd generation iPad Pro from 2018, which has 57 layers, which is the exact number of layers we have available on the iPad Air. So having 4 GB of RAM versus 6 GB of RAM definitely makes a difference if you're someone who works with Procreate and someone who needs a lot of layers, or someone who works with really large artworks. I've still got my 3rd generation iPad Pro here, which has the 120Hz refresh rate as well. And I think it's most obvious when we swipe between screens. So let me show you that difference. So we're going to go to the home screen on both iPads. And now I'm going to swipe between the screens, and you can see here this is really nice and smooth. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the iPad Air. And again, I don't think you would notice this if you hadn't seen this one, but this is just a little bit smoother. I don't think it would worry me too much, but of course, if you're used to having the iPad Pro, then this is something that you will notice. So now to help you decide which iPad to get, I thought I'll draw a little diagram with all the thoughts that you might have in your own head. And then hopefully by the end, you'll find it much easier to decide which iPad to get. So now, of course, the first decision that you want to make is whether or not you need a 12.9-inch screen, because the iPad Air only comes as a 10.9-inch version. And then the next decision that you are going to have to make is whether or not you're going to create large documents in Procreate. I don't think it's too much of an issue in any of the other apps, but because Procreate is a pixel-based app, this can actually make quite a big difference in the type of documents that you can create. And then the next decision that you have to make is whether or not you're going to use the iPad for video editing. The chipset in the iPad Pros is much better suited to video editing. So if you are doing video editing, then you want to get the 11-inch iPad Pro. And then the next decision that you need to make is in regards to the screen technology. Do you really need the 120Hz refresh rate, or can you live with the 60Hz refresh rate? And the most obvious you will notice this is when you're scrolling large lists, or also when you're playing games. And especially when you're playing games, you might actually like the faster refresh rate. So I'm going to make the criteria gaming here. Then you might like to consider getting the 11-inch iPad Pro. And then the next decision you have to make is about storage space. So one of the differences between the iPad Pro and the iPad Air is that the iPad Air only has a maximum of 256 GB of storage, and that might just be the limiting factor. If you're mainly using the iPad for Procreate, using Affinity Designer and Adobe Illustrator, maybe some journaling in Zinnia, 256 GB of storage is fine. but you might actually hit that limit. My whole library at the moment is probably around 400 gigabytes, and that's also why I wasn't able to restore my iPad backup onto this iPad. So if you are needing more than 256 gigabytes of storage, then definitely go for the iPad Pro. And then the next decision, which is usually the first decision, but I thought I'd put it here because I wanted to give you all the other options first, is the budget, of course. That 256 gigabyte iPad Air is $750. And then the 11-inch iPad Pro 256 gigabyte storage version is $900. So that's a $150 difference. And this is almost the price of the Apple Pencil. So if budget is a concern, then definitely go for the iPad Air with the Apple Pencil rather than the iPad Pro. All right, I really hope this little overview was helpful. I'm very sorry about my scribbles, but as you can see, most of these use cases probably won't apply to you. I'm not doing any video editing on the iPad. I don't play any games on the iPad. I love my Nintendo Switch way too much for gaming. And then you can most probably live with 256 gigabytes of storage. So the iPad Air together with the second generation Apple Pencil is an amazing device to get. And I actually think my friends regret right now that they got the 11-inch iPad Pro early this year. My favorite iPad is still the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. So for me, this decision here is probably the most important one. I would always definitely go with the biggest screen. I love the big screen of the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. But if budget is a concern, then the iPad Air is a fantastic device and you are going to love it very much. My favorite thing about the iPad Air is the different colors it comes with. I'm absolutely in love with the pink color, but you can also get it in silver, graphite, which are the normal iPad colors, and then it comes in green and sky blue as well. So there's different options here for you to choose from. I really hope this video was useful. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And then I'm also going to bloop up another video of my iPad Pro 2020 review, where I'm comparing my 4th generation iPad Pro to the 3rd generation iPad Pro. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.